Tuesday, October 18th, 2022, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today we're going to look at how, not surprisingly, the City of London, specifically the people at Blackrock, have taken over the government in the UK. And we're going to look at how the Bank of England again is dragging its feet in terms of starting its sales of gilts on its balance sheet or starting QT. They're dragging their feet again. I've been speaking about this even before the mini budget, even before the whole system started to unravel. Before I start, though, I like to give you some information here, some news that came out yesterday that I think is relatively important. And I spoke about this in my last live stream on Sunday about the petrodollar and how the U.S. Congress is probably going to shoot itself in the foot trying to punish Saudi Arabia. Well, here we are. We had news yesterday from South Africa, and it says Ramaphosa confirms Saudi Arabia wants to join BRICS family. So he's the president of South Africa, I guess. It says here timeslive.co.za or .za. Saudi Arabia has expressed its interest in joining BRICS bloc. So that's not surprising. I think the BRICS bloc is going to become a major competitor of the rapidly decreasing influence of the G7. Yes. And there were some more interesting headlines yesterday, especially as it concerns Nord Stream 1 and 2. And I highly recommend you watch the Duran. They spoke about that, how Sweden and Germany, they basically know who blew up those pipelines, but they're not willing to tell the world. So you can kind of deduct who did it, because if it was the Russians, it would be publicized, right? So what the Duran said, if your supposed ally, and we don't really know who did it, but we have a good idea, if your supposed ally will commit these acts of vandalism on your infrastructure, what else can they commit in terms of vandalism, be it economic vandalism or political vandalism or military vandalism to your country again? If the leaders of these two countries, Germany and Sweden, don't stand up for themselves, it looks like Germany and Sweden are basically colonies of these supposed allies. So just wanted to put that out there. Recommend the Duran. I'm going to put a link to their video up in the cards here below in the description. So back to the UK, back to Blackrock. And it's interesting because I saw this on Twitter. Someone noted that Osborne's man, and I didn't know who he was back in charge advising Jeremy Hunt, the new chancellor. So I had to do some digging, and it's interesting because I've been speaking about George Osborne and have in the past a lot, because he had one of these medium-term plans, 5-year plans that they love to use, because by the time it comes to the 5th year, they're probably not chancellor or in power anymore. And it was very similar with Osborne. He promised to balance the budget in 2010. By 2015, by 2016, he wasn't chancellor anymore. But the man who advised him was this guy here, Rupert Harrison. So there you go. There's a picture of him here. George Osborne's former Treasury right-hand man, to advise Hunt on the economy. So that's going to end up really well, isn't it? The first time around he failed because we didn't have a balanced budget by 2015. So he did so well that they're hiring him again. So Chancellor announces new Economic Advisory Council to help get finances under control. So let's quickly go through this article because it's not just BlackRock, because this guy in 2015 moved to BlackRock, of course. And in 2016, his boss moved to BlackRock while still an MP. And yeah, believe it or not, he was earning $650,000 for a one-day week. That's George Osborne at BlackRock. Of course, Rupert Harrison's still at BlackRock. So let's get through this article. Liz Truss government, well, Liz Truss's government, no, I think it's BlackRock's government now, isn't it? Has abandoned its opposition to economic orthodoxy. I would argue if it's orthodox to run huge deficits. But anyway, after her new chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, enlisted George Osborne's former right-hand man for advice. Rupert Harrison, who worked for the former coalition chancellor and is now at investment institution BlackRock, is one of 4 members of the new Economic Advisory Council announced by Jeremy Hunt. So who else has he got there? So here we go. Other members of Hunt's new council include 2 former Bank of England rate setters and a senior economist at American Investment Bank JP Morgan. Gert-Jan Fliege, who served as an external member of the Bank of England's interest rate setting MPC from 2015 to 2021 and who works at Element Capital, will sit in the council alongside this Sushil Wadhwani, who was MPC member from 1999 to 2002 and is now Wadhwani Asset Management. This falls right into the Bank of England also dragging its feet on the QE, which we'll come to in a minute. And Element Capital, yeah, Jeff Taupins, I know about this guy. I actually dealt for him many years ago. Not a very nice character, Jeff Taupins of Element Capital. Karen Ward, a top economist at JP Morgan, is the final member. So yeah, we've got BlackRock and JP Morgan in charge of the UK government. And of course, the Bank of England is going to follow its instructions, right, as well. So here we go. I made a video recently, maybe over a month ago, even before this crisis started. Bank of England set to become first big central bank to sell QE bonds. And this is from August 4th. So back in August, they're already saying that they're going to start selling within the next month. So in the beginning of September, and in the beginning of September, we didn't have a mini budget, but they dragged their feet. So it says here from August 4th, the Bank of England looks set to become the first major central bank to sell some of the government bonds it purchased during more than a decade of QE with a £40 billion sales program. Likely, it's good. They always use those. You could see that it was just wishful thinking, likely to start next month, and they didn't. So now they've come out again, big headline this morning in the FT, BOE set to further delay sales of government bonds until markets calm. Yeah, until the markets calm for Element Capital, for JP Morgan, for BlackRock, and yes, recently as well, the new government scrapped a bonus limit for city traders or city bankers. I'm sure they didn't reverse that scrapping with the new chancellor. That's for sure. And it's going to just create more and more instability in the system, more leverage, more speculation, because they're going for their big bonuses. And I'm not against big bonuses, but when the system is as fragile as it is, and the general public is suffering for it, and this has been going on since '08, since we've had to bail out the City of London and Wall Street. It's continued, and you're going to be paying for it. So they've scrapped the penny on 20% tax rate. They're going to scrap a lot of the help with the energy bills, and you're going to be paying a lot more for your mortgages. But they're going to be okay, because I would also add that the major hedge funds, the major investments institutions like Blackrock, JP Morgan, Element, they funnel laundered money probably into offshore havens, and they deal from London as representatives of offshore companies, and the Bank of England and the FCA, they turn a blind eye to it. And but you, who puts 50 or 100,000 in the bank, you're pestered by the regulators. You're pestered by their know your client KYC rules. But these firms that control trillions of dollars, it's all offshore. And yet the Bank of England turns a blind eye to this. Well, because the City of London, of course, is not part of the UK, but they're in charge of the UK now. And believe me, there's only one way not to play their game, and that is to have as little exposure to their institutions. And that means having as little money in the bank with them. And that's why I keep stacking, because I don't want to finance these people. So the more things change, the more they become the same, right? So yeah, remember that name, Rupert Harrison. He's the guy probably in charge now of things. And if for some reason the Tories remain in power, you could see him eventually, I would say, run for MP and maybe become Chancellor as well. That's the path these people usually take. Anyway, let's quickly look at where the markets are this morning. 8:20 a.m. London time. Yes, gold did well early on, and as usual, these bankers smashed the paper price. Yes, it's very important for them to keep their fiat currency game going, their Blackrock JP Morgan schemes, Bank of England schemes going. So yeah, we went up almost to 1670, but by the end of the day, we were around 1650. Silver kind of outperformed. Right now, gold is at 1650, 150, up just over $1. So they just trampled on it. The high's been 1661, the low 1648. Silver is up 9 cents at 1875, up 0.5%. High's been 1894, the low 1860. Dow futures is up 340 points, so just over 1%, at 30,540. The Nasdaq 100 future is up 1.6%, and the S&P 500 future is up 1.36%. FTSE is rebounding, almost back up to 7,000. Still below 7,000, it's up 2/3, and the Euro Stoxx 50 is up under 1%. Through the currencies, the pound is giving back some of its gains from yesterday. It's down 0.5% at 113.10. The euro is unchanged, 98.33. Yeah, and the yen continues to flounder. We're on our way to 150, and I tweeted yesterday that maybe the dollar index basket should be changed, because the yen is really almost as bad as the Turkish lira. So why have that in the basket of the dollar index? Why not put the ruble in there? Because the ruble seems to be a lot more stable than the yen. Anyway, the dollar is unchanged right now at 149.02. Dollar's down 0.2 versus the Swiss franc, 99.50, and the dollar's down slightly versus the yuan at 7.20. The dollar is down slightly. Well, actually, it's unchanged. It's trading at 62 versus the ruble. Now to the other currencies. Aussie dollar is unchanged at 62.92. The dollar is up slightly versus the Canadian dollar, 137.25. And the Kiwi dollar is actually up 1% at 56.80 versus the dollar. General commodities, Brent crude is up a third at 91.06. WTI is up a third as well at 84.85. High-grade copper is down 0.2% at 338.50. U.S. nat gas is down 0.5% at 6.28. The Dutch TTF nat gas futures, that's down another 7% at 118. I spoke yesterday with Nobody Special Finance. I was interviewed by him, and he told me, I hadn't seen it, that the EU is trying to cap these Dutch nat gas futures prices. So I think that's why it's come off. But just to give you some perspective, prior to 2020, this contract traded around 10 to 15 euros. We're still at 120. Yes, it has been at 300 some months ago when the Ukraine conflict started. So now to the bond market, we'll look at the gilt market. The 30-year gilt yield is up 5 basis points at 442. The 10-year is up another 5 as well, just above 4. And the 2-year gilt yield is up 2.5 basis points at 358. And to finish off with the U.S. Treasury market, the 10-year is trading just above 4%. So there you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And with that, I wish you all a great rest of the day. Take care. Bye.